Imagine you are standing in the middle of World War II. Around you, there are heavy tanks, roaring fighter jets, and automatic machine guns that can shoot hundreds of bullets in a single minute. Now, imagine a man running straight into this modern hell, holding a giant sword and a bow and arrow. It sounds like a joke, right? Or maybe a scene from a fantasy movie. But this actually happened. While every other soldier was relying on the latest technology, this one British officer decided that guns were too boring. He literally brought a medieval sword to a modern gunfight. His name was Jack Churchill, famously known as Mad Jack. And today, you are going to find out how this absolute madman survived the deadliest war in human history using weapons from the Middle Ages. But before we dive into his insane story, I have a quick question for you. If you were sent into a modern war today, would you rely strictly on modern technology? Or do you think old school, raw courage still has a place? Write your honest thoughts in the comments right now, because what Jack did will completely change how you view courage. To understand why Jack did this, we have to look at his psychology. Jack Churchill was not just crazy. He was a man who believed that modern weapons took away the real spirit of a warrior. He famously said, "Any officer who goes into action without his sword is improperly dressed." Think about that statement for a second. In a world where a sniper can end your life from a mile away, this man was worried about his dress code. Let's go back to the year 1940, during the Battle of France. The German army was crushing everything in its path with their famous blitzkrieg strategy. The British troops were retreating, and morale was completely dead. Soldiers were terrified, tired, and running for their lives. But Jack Churchill was excited. This was his moment. He was hiding in a small village, waiting for a German patrol to pass by. Now, if you are ambushed by the enemy, the standard military tactic is to open fire with your machine gun. But Jack wanted to send a psychological shockwave through the enemy. He raised his heavy bow, pulled back the string, and aimed at the German sergeant. Thud! The arrow went straight through the German officer's chest. He died instantly. Can you imagine being a German soldier in that moment? You are trained to listen for gunshots. You are trained to look for muzzle flashes. Instead, your leader drops dead, and all you hear is the silent whistle of an arrow. It created instant panic. The Germans thought they were being attacked by ghosts or forest gorillas. Jack then grabbed his machine gun and his sword, charged forward, and saved his entire unit from being captured. This brings us to our first major psychological debate. Was Jack a genius who understood that fear is the ultimate weapon? Or was he just incredibly lucky? Tell me in the comments. Do you think psychological fear is more dangerous than a bullet? Let's see what you think. After this crazy event, Jack joined the Commandos, which was a highly dangerous special forces unit. In 1941, he was sent on a raid in Norway. The goal was to destroy German batteries. Now, usually, special forces operate in total silence. They sneak in, plant explosives, and sneak out. But Jack did things differently. As the landing craft approached the beach, Jack didn't hide behind the steel armor. He stood right at the front of the boat. And he wasn't holding a gun. He was playing the bagpipes. Yes, the traditional Scottish musical instrument. He played a loud, aggressive war tune while bullets were flying everywhere. As soon as the boat's ramp dropped, Jack threw a grenade, drew his massive Scottish broadsword, and leaped into the water, screaming at the top of his lungs. The German soldiers defending the beach were completely stunned. They had seen brave soldiers. They had seen desperate soldiers. But they had never seen a man playing music and running at them with a medieval sword. It completely broke their mind. Many Germans simply dropped their weapons and surrendered because they thought they were dealing with a certified lunatic. This is where the psychology of warfare becomes fascinating. When you behave in a way that your enemy cannot predict, their brain freezes. The human brain hates anomalies. A man with a sword in 1941 is a massive anomaly. By the time the Germans realized that Jack was made of flesh and blood, they were already in handcuffs. But Jack's story takes a dark and intense turn during the Battle of Yugoslavia in 1944. This is the moment where his luck finally ran out, and it is also the moment that proves whether He was truly a hero or just a man who didn't care about his own life? Jack was leading a group of commandos to capture a critical hill called Point 622. The hill was heavily defended by Germans. As they climbed up, the German artillery started raining fire down on them. One by one, Jack's men were torn apart. The bullets were thick in the air. Out of his entire unit, only Jack and 6 other men managed to reach the top of the hill. Instead of retreating or taking cover, Jack decided to do what he always did. He ordered his remaining men to charge, but a mortar shell landed right in the middle of them. It killed or badly injured everyone except Jack. Now, picture this in your mind. You are at the top of a hill, surrounded by the bodies of your friends. Smoke is everywhere. The enemy is closing in from all sides. You have no ammo left. What do? Most people would raise their hands and surrender. Some might lose their mind and cry. Do you know what Mad Jack did? He sat down on the ground, took out his bagpipes, and started playing a sad Scottish song called Will Ye No Come Back Again. He played the music while German soldiers slowly walked up the hill with their rifles pointed at his chest. He literally serenaded his own capture. A German soldier eventually crawled up behind him and threw a grenade, knocking Jack unconscious. When he woke up, he was a prisoner of war. Because his name was Churchill, the Germans thought he was a relative of the British Prime Minister, Winston Churchill. So, they sent him straight to Sachsenhausen concentration camp, one of the most heavily guarded camps in Nazi Germany. Now, let's pause the story here for a second, because I want to ask you a serious question. If you were trapped in a Nazi concentration camp, surrounded by barbed wire, machine gun towers, and ruthless guards, would you try to escape, or would you wait for the war to end? Let me know in the comments. Seriously, type it down below, because what Jack did next will shock you. Jack Churchill did not wait. He immediately started digging a secret tunnel through the dirt with another officer. After weeks of silent, painful digging, they actually managed to crawl out of the camp through the wire. They walked for days, trying to reach the Baltic coast. They walked over 100 miles through enemy territory, surviving on raw vegetables they stole from farms. But just a few miles away from freedom, they were spotted by a German patrol and captured again. Most humans would break mentally after failing an escape like that. The disappointment alone can kill your spirit. But Jack's mind was built differently. He was transferred to a high-security prison camp in Austria. In 1945, the power grid of the camp failed, plunging the entire area into total darkness. Jack saw his chance. While the guards were panicking and trying to fix the lights, Jack simply walked away into the dark forest. He didn't just hide. He started walking across the Alps. He walked for nearly 100 miles through brutal mountain terrain, with almost no food, freezing temperatures, and an injured leg. After days of agony, he spotted an American armored unit. He ran towards them, screamed his identity, and finally, he was safe. He had successfully escaped the Nazi war machine. But here is the most insane psychological twist of Jack's entire life. When he finally got back to the British military, the war in Europe was ending. Hitler was dead, and Germany had surrendered. Normal soldiers were celebrating. They were crying tears of joy because they were finally going home to their families. But when Jack heard the news, he didn't smile. He got furious. He looked at his commanders and said, "If it wasn't for those damn Yanks, we could have kept the war going for another 10 years. Think about that. He was actually disappointed that the deadliest war in human history was over. He wanted it to keep going. He was immediately shipped to Burma to fight against the Japanese Empire, because the war in the Pacific was still active. But by the time his ship arrived, America dropped the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and Japan surrendered too. Jack was deeply unhappy. He complained that the atomic bomb ruined his fun. This brings us to the final, deepest question about Mad Jack Churchill. Was he a true hero who fought for his country with ultimate bravery? Or was he a dangerous adrenaline junkie who loved violence and chaos so much that he couldn't live in a peaceful world? Look at his life after the war. He didn't live a quiet life. He moved to Australia, became a passionate surfer, and was one of the first men to surf the Seven Bore River wave in England. He lived until 1996, dying peacefully at the age of 89. The man who fought tanks with a sword survived everything and died in a comfortable bed. So, I want to hear from you now. Go to the comments and type your final verdict. Was Mad Jack Churchill an inspiration of raw human courage? Or was he just a crazy man who got incredibly lucky? Write your opinions below, debate with each other, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more insane, untold history stories. See you in the next video.